Batman is one of DC Comics' most legendary superheroes, first appearing in Detective Comics number 27 in 1939. As a founding member of the Justice League, the Caped Crusader has captivated audiences with his unmatched intellect, high-tech gadgets, and relentless pursuit of justice in Gotham City. Over the decades, more than 50 actors have portrayed Batman in TV, film, and games, each bringing a unique take to the Dark Knight. Let's dive into the most iconic live-action portrayals of Caped Crusader. 12. Iain Glen. Without any doubt, the Game of Thrones star isn't a bad actor, and his portrayal of Bruce Wayne in Titans had its moments. In fact, Glen brought some solid acting skills and physicality to the role, which should have made for a memorable take on Batman. However, the writing and overall premise of Bruce Wayne's character in Titans gave him a lot to work against. Unlike the darker, brooding detective we usually associate with Batman, Glen's version of Bruce leaned heavily into being more of a mentor figure to Dick Grayson, which divided fans right down the middle. This approach showed Bruce as someone who had moved past his more violent days, but many fans weren't sold on this portrayal. They felt that Glen's Bruce lacked the intimidating and intense presence that defines Batman. His demeanor came across more like Alfred than the Dark Knight himself. Additionally, Glen's accent and polished tone didn't match the gritty expectations fans have for the character. Ultimately, while Glen had his strengths, his portrayal didn't leave as strong a mark. That said, his performance did offer something unique, even if it wasn't quite what die-hard Batman fans were looking for. 11. Lewis Wilson. Lewis Wilson holds the distinction of being the first actor to portray Batman in live action. He starred in a 15-part serial released by Columbia Pictures in 1943, running from July to October of that year. Each chapter lasted between 15 to 26 minutes, creating the earliest serialized depiction of the Caped Crusader. While the serial was considered a success for its time, Wilson's portrayal has largely been overshadowed by the many actors who came after him. The limited budget, as World War II drained financial resources, meant the series had modest production values, with restricted sets and minimal props. This undoubtedly made Wilson's job more challenging. Despite those limitations, Wilson showcased a natural talent. However, his Batman lacked the complexity and intrigue that later portrayals brought to the character. This version leaned heavily on simple crime-fighting sequences rather than delving into the darker or more heroic elements that have come to define Batman. 10th, Robert Lowry. Following the success of the 1943 Batman serial, Columbia Pictures quickly followed up with another 15-part serial in 1949 titled Batman and Robin. This time, Robin was featured as a main character alongside Batman, and the cast and crew were entirely different. The production enjoyed a somewhat larger budget than the previous serial, though still modest by the standards of the time. Robert Lowry stepped into the role of the Dark Knight, carefully studying Lewis Wilson's previous portrayal. He made noticeable improvements, enhancing key elements, such as the iconic Batman power pose. Lowry's extensive background in action and Western films made him well-suited for heroic roles, and his physicality was evident in his portrayal of Batman. His version of Bruce Wayne also felt more refined compared to Wilson's, offering a touch more charisma and confidence. However, despite these improvements, Lowry's Batman doesn't stand out much by today's standards. The limited storytelling of serial films and the absence of the darker, complex elements that later defined the character kept this portrayal from leaving a lasting impact. 9. David Mazouz. The Warner Brothers TV show Gotham was a fascinating entry in the Batman mythos for many reasons. One of its most unique aspects was the portrayal of a young Bruce Wayne long before he donned the iconic cape and cowl. Instead of jumping straight into his vigilante adventures, the series focused on Bruce's childhood after the traumatic murder of his parents and his reluctant role as the head of Wayne Enterprises. It chronicled his journey from a frightened, grieving boy to the determined figure who would eventually become Batman, with the transformation reaching its culmination in the series finale. David Mazouz brought depth to the role, effectively portraying Bruce as a scared, lonely, and often angry orphan navigating his grief. His performance conveyed both vulnerability and flashes of the inner strength that would define Batman. However, despite his strong acting, Mazouz's version of Bruce Wayne felt notably different from the traditional depiction fans expected. The character's development often veered from the established traits associated with Bruce Wayne, which left some viewers divided. Still, Mazouz deserves credit for delivering a memorable performance that showcased a unique and compelling interpretation of Bruce Wayne's origins. His portrayal laid the groundwork for a version of Batman that was more about growth and learning than the fully formed legend fans typically see. 8. George Clooney. Batman and Robin is widely regarded as the worst Batman film to date. Director Joel Schumacher and George Clooney have both repeatedly apologized for the movie's poor reception. Yet, there are a few arguments in Clooney's favor that shouldn't be overlooked. The film's biggest issues were its cringe-worthy writing and the much-ridiculed costume design, particularly the infamous bat nipples. Clooney faced the daunting challenge of playing a serious Bruce Wayne in a plot that leaned heavily into goofy camp. To make matters worse, he spent countless scenes wearing a stiff, heavy suit that was awkward and visually unappealing. Despite these setbacks, Clooney's undeniable talent still managed to shine. His calm, suave demeanor and distinct voice fit Bruce Wayne remarkably well, showing glimpses of what could have been a great portrayal with better material. Clooney later redeemed himself in a cameo appearance during 2023's The Flash, though unfortunately, that film also struggled critically and commercially. 7. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's portrayal of Batman is perhaps the most underrated take on the superhero. Batman Forever often gets overlooked in the Batman film lineup, partly because Jim Carrey's over-the-top performance as the Riddler steals much of the spotlight. However, Kilmer delivered a strong performance that deserves recognition. His portrayal brought a calm, confident demeanor to Bruce Wayne and a focused intensity to Batman. One of Kilmer's challenges was stepping into the cape and cowl after Michael Keaton, who had become the face of modern Batman at that time. Fans struggled to accept the transition, especially given Keaton's iconic portrayal. Despite this, Kilmer gave Bruce Wayne a charm that balanced the character's dual identity well. Kilmer's version contributed to evolving the character's on-screen legacy, offering a lighter yet still compelling interpretation in a franchise finding its footing during the mid-90s. 6. Kevin Conroy. Many Batman actors and voice actors will come and go, but the late Kevin Conroy will remain the definitive Dark Knight. His iconic voice work as Batman spanned 56 different projects, including Batman,
I am the Knight. I am Batman.
the animated series, Justice League, and even the critically acclaimed Batman Arkham video game series, cementing him as the most recognizable voice of the character. Conroy's deep, commanding tone perfectly captured both Bruce Wayne's charm and Batman's intensity. Conroy finally got the chance to feature as live-action Batman in the CW's 2019 Arrowverse crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Earths. He made a single but memorable appearance. Conroy portrayed an older, battle-worn Bruce Wayne who relied on a tech exoskeleton after his body was ravaged by years of conflict, including a brutal battle with Superman. This version of Bruce had crossed a dark line and even killed his universe's Superman in a reign of terror that ultimately left him broken. However, his limited screen time didn't give him much to portray on the screen, but still, it was great to see him finally making a live-action appearance. 5. Adam West. The late Adam West will always be remembered for his legendary portrayal of Batman in the iconic 1966 ABC action comedy series and the feature film released that same year. His portrayal wasn't just a role, it became a cultural phenomenon that shaped Batman's image for an entire generation. West's Batman leaned heavily into campy humor, complete with colorful bam and pow fight scenes, delighting audiences of all ages. Although many modern portrayals of Batman have gone darker and grittier, West's performance remains unforgettable. He perfectly balanced a comedic tone with just the right amount of seriousness when the moment called for it. His signature deadpan delivery of lines like "Quick to the Batcave" became iconic. 4. Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck made his debut as Bruce Wayne in Batman v Superman. Dawn of Justice, a film that received harsh criticism overall, except for Affleck's portrayal of the Dark Knight, which earned widespread praise. Fans were impressed by his meticulous body language, strong physical presence, and perfect vocal delivery, which embodied the intimidating, experienced Batman they had been waiting for. One thing that really set Affleck's portrayal apart was how seamlessly he captured both the billionaire charm of Bruce Wayne and the brutal determination of Batman. His distinct facial features, particularly that iconic, chiseled chin, made him visually striking when suited up as Gotham's protector. Affleck reprised his role in 2016's Suicide Squad and played a leading part in 2017's Justice League. He was even slated to write, direct, and star in a solo Batman film, but unfortunately, that project never materialized. It's a real what could have been scenario. He made his last appearance as Batman in 2023's Flash. Had Affleck been given the chance to fully explore Batman in a solo project, he might have cemented himself as the definitive live-action Batman for a whole generation. 3. Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson delivered a fresh and compelling reimagining of the Dark Knight in the Batman. After DCU was in limbo, Pattinson was brought in to don the cape after Ben Affleck. Pattinson's Batman is undeniably dark, embodying a brooding intensity and seething with suppressed anger. His portrayal captured the raw, detective-driven essence of Gotham's protector, bringing a gritty realism to the role. Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is quieter and less polished than previous iterations, reflecting a man still grappling with his dual identity. The actor's ability to convey both vulnerability and menace set his performance apart, making him a standout in the long lineup of Batman. Fans are eagerly anticipating his return in The Batman Part 2, and are excited to see how his character arc will evolve in the continuation of the Elseworld, parallel to DCU's Batman. 2. Michael Keaton. When Tim Burton released Batman in 1989, he revolutionized the superhero movie landscape, setting the bar for decades to come. Michael Keaton, who had already delivered a career-defining performance as the quirky ghost in Beetlejuice, brought an unexpected yet extraordinary take to the role of Bruce Wayne. His performance was a masterclass in capturing the duality of Batman, the brooding protector of Gotham and the enigmatic, reclusive billionaire. Keaton's portrayal set the standard for all future live-action versions of The Dark Knight. His commanding delivery made lines like the legendary,
"I'm Batman,"
unforgettable. He embodied the dark, intense persona of Batman without losing the character's humanity, which was essential to grounding Burton's gothic vision of Gotham City. Physically, Keaton's portrayal was also striking. His distinctive jawline and facial expressions were perfectly framed by the batsuit, creating an unforgettable silhouette. His return in Batman Returns, 1992, only cemented his place as one of the greatest Batman of all time. 1. Christian Bale. Even after decades, Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy remains a monumental achievement in cinema. Before Christopher Nolan redefined the superhero genre, Batman films weren't taken as seriously as they are today. Nolan's brilliant storytelling, combined with jaw-dropping cinematography and incredible production design, created an unforgettable series of films. But at the heart of it all was Bale, who brought a layered and commanding presence to Bruce Wayne and his caped alter ego. One of Bale's greatest feats was holding his ground among a star-studded cast. Throughout the trilogy, he shared the screen with Hollywood heavyweights like Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Anne Hathaway, and of course Heath Ledger, whose performance as the Joker is legendary. Despite these iconic performances, Bale never faded into the background. While Zack Snyder once suggested that Ben Affleck was a better visual fit for the character, Bale's performance is still widely regarded as the definitive version of Batman. He captured the darkness, complexity, and tortured psyche of Bruce Wayne, all while delivering a grounded and human portrayal of Gotham's greatest hero. His iconic growl, intense fight scenes, and emotional depth solidified him as the greatest live-action Batman to date. Which actor do you think truly embodied the Dark Knight? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to First Curiosity for more superhero content. See you in the next one.